Hey Sonia, you're all good to start whenever. So,
Thank you, Peter. Okay. Hello, I'm Sonia Brinkworth. I'm going to be starting this joint meeting, the subcommittee joint meeting with regulations and legal and process and funding. I want to start with opening remarks, and I did want to say a couple things. So I had watched the last meeting from process and funding, and I wanted to state, don't get overwhelmed. So we needed to let this subcommittee needed to let your group know that funding is essential in a couple areas, right? Which I hope we addressed in the last meeting. Today, we will hear from a building official on how their process works. But ultimately, it is up to your group on how funding is addressed in our recommendations, right? We just want to let you know, since most of us in this subcommittee of Regs and Legal work daily on implementation of these regulations. And the primary challenge that was identified very early on in our subcommittees is the lack of funding, which is a major hurdle for us. Recommendations cannot be effectively written without funding attached. For example, a training recommendation is useless if no money is allocated for a training program. I also think so when asked, we can now point back to a recording on YouTube that explains why local health and state agencies are identifying funding as being one of the biggest issues. This is especially important when and if AT programs is discussed. I also wanted to mention that there is high public interest in some of these subcommittee meetings. A significant portion of Connecticut residents, 30 to 40%, rely on septic systems, right? That means that there should be a widespread need and desire for this information. And it's complex. There's DEP, there's DPH, there's local health, there's a lot of different things going on in here, and we are subject matter experts. So when we're talking about a lot of this stuff, it may be for each other's subgroup, but it is also for the general population on explaining how our septic regulations work in Connecticut. I also wanted to point out that we are in the best position as subject matter experts to kind of educate as we go along. And we're public health, right? Some of us are public health. So prevention, education, and science, that's kind of like our jam, right? The other thing I wanted to bring up, I thought Matt's talk was amazing when he spoke to you guys about his different areas that he has to work on. And one of the things that he said I wanted to highlight, and it was the super scullies he talked about. Bob Scully area was the shoreline. And he had decades of invaluable experience dealing with these unique coastal wastewater issues, right? So now Matt isn't there. Matt's extremely overwhelmed. And you can't just jam down 50 years of our septic issues, drama, every time something a little different, and expect it to be easily comprehended and able to be done something about. So the reason why I bring that up is because in our area, AT is part of our wastewater, a lot of our wastewater facility plans. So there has been efforts in 2007. AT systems were supposed to be part of the decentralized wastewater management program. I don't know what happened. It didn't come to about. Funding apparently may or may not have been a big issue on that one. In 2017, WPCA and Westbrook, as well as the health department, actually supported a House bill that talked about evaluating the clean water fundings so an AT program could be get funded, right? That is because we're on the shoreline. That's because those AT systems are in our regulations or in our ordinance. That being said, we still don't have an AT program. We have 7,500 gallons per day now. And we also have passive nitrogen reduction systems, which may or may not have been part of the reason why that was passed with the 7,500 gallons per day. I'm not sure. So I just wanted to kind of give a couple comments before we go forward and watch the your joints and process and funding meeting. The next order of business is to schedule our next meeting, and I'm just going to look at our group. Potential date and time, December 17th, 2:30 to 4. But that being said, I was hoping we can try to also meet in between that. We can go back and forth through email on availability of time because we are coming down to the wire here. And we need to get these recommendations on the regulations established, written, and for vote. So I will be in touch with you guys later on about another potential date. But right now, does anyone have an issue with potential date and time? Wednesday, December 17th, 2:30 to 4 p.m. Are there any issues? Okay. And so our next item of business is to hear from Miss Kimberly Norman Rosen. She's our Guilford building official and ADA coordinator. She's my building official and ADA coordinator, and we do talk a lot together. She came about a year before I did to Guilford, and she's filled me in a lot of how the building department does their thing. And working in land use in these smaller towns, you really kind of have a lot of respect for the building department and being able to fund their program, as well as even being able to generate money that unfortunately does go back into the general fund, but at least they are able to support their training and their inspections. So, Ms. Kimberly, can you please start?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Norma Rosedam. As Sonia said, the building official and ADA coordinator for the town of Guilford. Been talking back and forth with Sonia regarding some of the building process that I do within the town of Guilford and some of the other building departments throughout the state of Connecticut. And one, I was telling Sonia that we're not on the constituents regarding our fee. Our fee is permit based. That was from the start of when they started with the building department in Connecticut, that they didn't want it to be on the constituents. So that was one thing. So this way we were there, we are basically there definitely for life safety. And we wanted people to take out permits so we can inspect as a building department to make sure people will be able to reside in the homes or in the buildings, commercial or residential, that they are in. So those were one of the things. We also had to support with the contractors because they also wanted it too, as well as having licenses with consumer protection, because there were so many homes being built and falling down, and they were being built by people who are unlicensed. So that's how consumer protection, they also came out with their licenses as part of it too. So that will legitimize a lot of the contractors out there and weed away the ones who were doing the bad work. So, just going back and forth and letting Sonia how we process things within the building department. And I also put away training. I'm very big on training, not only for myself, but for everybody in my department, on for them to go higher in their position. I had an admin go into a permit tech position. Even for my inspectors, we have to keep up with our licenses. So I have tons of webinars and different websites that I adhere to for them to get their educational training. And also we go to in-person seminars throughout the state of Connecticut, and also in Massachusetts yearly in October for the Building Official Association. So these are things that I set aside for my inspectors and permit techs and admins. If they want to have additional training, they're more than able to. The state of, with the state of Connecticut, we also charge in our building permit fee a 26 cents per thousand fee. That 26 cents per thousand goes to DAS. DAS is Department of Administrative Services, which is a department that I can call on when I need assistance. That's a department I can call on when I need some help or advice or extra knowledge, because we don't know everything. Versus say I don't know, but I do want to learn. I want to understand. And if somebody can guide me and tell me the right way to proceed with something, who's done it before, been there, I'm looking to and I'm receptive to that information. And that's what they're there for. And they're able to give us that guidance that we all need within the building department. And I can call them at any moment. In fact, I was speaking to one of my representative, Bob Walsh, like 10 minutes ago, on a different subject, and which is great. We have that collaboration, that we are able to talk to them. We are able to submit different things to them regarding if somebody needs a modification on forms for a building that's not going to be code compliant with today's code, but it's something that was built a while ago, and they just can't do it. Then we do a modification form, which DAS is able to approve, and they review and approve and get back to us regarding it. So it's great to have an ally that we're able to reach out to and respond back to immediately. It makes such a difference to myself and to the other building officials throughout the state of Connecticut. I speak to quite a few of them, especially when we go to seminars and different meetings. And, we all love and talk about within each other. We collaborate, but when we need to go to higher collaboration, DAS is definitely one of the important parts of our job that we refer to. I will say that. And part of that 26 cents per thousand that I mentioned that is on the building permit fee, that goes to the state for education. Now, that education is not only for us, because they also put on training for us to attend. They have morning training and night training by Zoom, but they also do training for future building officials that former contractors or other electricians, plumbers, anybody who are in the trades who would like to become a state inspector. They do have a class that is for free for 9 months that they're able to attend. I actually attended it and graduated from it in 2015. So now I know I did it in person, but I believe now, with technology and all, it's going to be online. But this is something that they do, and that's part of the educational training, is to put aside so you can have, because again, the average building official right now in the state of Connecticut is like 73. So that's something definite that we need to get more people involved, and we need to reach out to the younger generation to let them know this is an avenue that they can come to and they can work into and grow in this profession.
Excellent, Kim. You said a couple of things that we've actually had quite a few conversations about. The first one is we just had someone to reach out to for a legal interpretation on what it is of a modification. I think with a lot with the developers, sometimes there's simple questions that may be answered by another, like a DAS, et cetera, or even an appeal that's not a full-blown order. Matt's group is great, but there's only a few of them. So, I feel bad constantly asking him questions when it would be easier for us as public health departments having a consistent answer that we can share amongst our colleagues and ourselves. There's a central repository potentially at the state. The other thing is that you mentioned that was really critical here is that how that funding gets back into training. And I think that's one of the things that we discussed extensively is the training part, right? We also need future inspectors. I didn't even think about that when we started, this conversation, but what you just said makes sense. Part of that 26 cents to the state of Connecticut that for whatever reason may not go in other state agencies somehow is able to go to training to support building officials. And that's the main reason why I asked you to come and talk to us about it. I would like to open it up for any questions that anyone may have for you. Nothing?
I don't bite.
I have a question. So the 26 cents per thousand is that a regulation, a statute, or is it just
It
a
is a state
handshake?
statute. No, it is a state statute, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, DAS, Department of Administrative Services, or is that another, what is the acronym?
That is it. Department of
It is-
Administrative Services.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thanks.
Jim?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you were going to rewrite that funding source, what would you change about it to improve it?
Myself? You're asking me
Yeah.
if I rewrite it?
From your use of it, from how you've experienced it, what's the weakness?
Oh wow. When I attended back in I started in 2014 and it's 9 months process and I graduated in 2015. For me, I'm from Stanford, so I had to drive all the way to New Britain. So that was the downfall. But like I said, that was in person. It was twice a week. It was twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and sometime on a Saturday. It was all day, and you had to be there. I know now they said they want to do everything digitally online. I don't know what the full process is regarding it, but I still enjoyed going there. It was amazing. I met a lot of people, and I was talking, one of my inspectors that worked for me part-time on Fridays, I graduated with him, and he's the building official in Weston. And we were just talking the other day about when we went to orientation, it was over 100 people there that got accepted in the program, and our graduating class was 10.
Is that because of how difficult it was, Kim?
Some people just couldn't take it. They couldn't handle it. Some people had obligations regarding work because, again, it's all day, Tuesdays, Thursday, sometimes Saturdays. They got family to feed and bills to pay, so they couldn't take that time off, and you had to be there every day, those days that was provided.
In that regulation that talks about 26 cents or however it is, could you send us that or point us to where that
I could
regulation
try to
is?
get some information on it to send to you. Sure. That's
We'll
no
forward it
problem.
over to you guys over in, process and funding.
Yes. Mhm.
Again, just a thought. Does anyone have any other questions for Ms. Kimberly about how Bob Weedman. I know you deal with the building department a lot.
Yes.
I was curious if you could weigh in a little bit on this.
Kim, thank you for the information. Yeah, I am a contractor, so I get the benefit of paying that 26 cents on every permit. I don't know if you know this answer. Maybe we need to take this up with the state building official, but it would be curious to know like what their total income is from that fee, and kind of how they budget it. The other question I have, and again, this may not be something that you're familiar with, is what does the statute say about money going directly to a certain location and not go into the general fund? That was one of the concerns that we've had in our conversations is we don't want to make this fee and it doesn't end up in the hands of where we need it.
For the 26 cents of how much is generated, you would need to call the state. They don't give us that information on exactly how much is generated from each town and city that they receive the money from. Regarding it coming to the building department regarding the permit fee and not going into the general fund, yeah, that would also be something you would need to discuss with the state, because at one point they did have it that way, that it was going directly to the building department to support the building department for contractors, so that if you do need an inspection, you will be able to hire the amount of inspectors we need and so on to fulfill all the various needs that the contractors and constituents needs regarding their inspections. But I know later on, I think they said it was in the 90s, I believe, it was changed from, because of, I think it was all the mayors and selectmen got together and they must have stated that they wanted it. It was something like that got changed, I think, back in the 90s. But I don't know exactly. But I know at one point, from speaking to past building officials who were around back then, they said it was definitely all to the building department at one time.
Sonia, if
But
I
the
can just
state-
follow up
but
quickly and
the-
just suggest that maybe we reach out to DAS and ask them if they could kind of get us some clarification on how that money flows into their department and how they manage it, just so if we want to kind of copy their system.
That's
Okay.
excellent.
Thank you very much.
Jim? Thanks, Bob.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for your time, Kimberly. That's an extra administrative work that has to be done to separate that fee out to the state. And then how often do you send that? Is that a monthly report or a monthly check, whatever that goes up to the state?
Okay, so I do have it in my building permit fee. I have the building permit fee, and then I have the state education fee. So this way it is separated out, and it is quarterly that I do send them a check for the amount of money that was received in for the state education fee.
Thank you.
Bob? Thanks, Jim. Bob, I think you're on mute, Bob.
Forgive me. There we go. Thank you. Kimberly, help me understand something. Because I know building departments are probably the only department in most municipalities that actually, for lack of a better term, turn a profit. But if I have a $4,000 permit fee, approximately, you send $1 to the state?
The 26 cents per thousand for that. So if you said well, we do it by estimated cost of your project. Okay.
Okay.
So if your estimated cost of your project, let's say I'm just going to do an amount for you. Let's say it's $450,000.
Okay.
Is that good? 450K.
Yep. We're building a very tiny house. Yep.
Okay. So for the building permit fee, that would be $5,438. For the state education fee, which is the 26 cents per thousand, that will be $117. So they would get from that permit fee.
So $450,000 project, $5,438 goes to the town, and 117 goes to the state.
Yes, for that permit.
I got that right. And that's based on the cost of the job.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you. That helped clarify it. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Jim, you have another question?
Yes, Kimberly, is that in the state statute that the fee is based on the cost of the project?
No, that part is not part of the state statute. The 26 cents per thousand is.
But so you can
But
collect that any way that you want to.
Well, yeah, that's within the town. That's what the city or the town or your city ordinance.
So
I had to get approval. I can't just make up for like getting. I have to have it approved. But yeah, so that is our town ordinance regarding it's $50 is the first fee, and then it's $12 for each additional 1,000. That is how it is for our building permit fee.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Is there any other questions for Kim? Bob?
Yeah, Sonia, I just want to clarify one thing that was mentioned, and that is that the building department is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kimberly, is not expected to turn a profit, but they are expected to cover their expenses. I don't think that it's supposed to be a profit center for a town. I think that's in the statute, and I could have that wrong, but I believe that is accurate.
I believe that's how it was in the beginning. Yes. It's to support the building department regarding having enough inspectors, permit techs, admins, building clerks, support staff, and also education.
And those are all similar to what we need for septic.
Correct.
Septic's a little different. That part of public health is a lot different than some of the other things that we have to do with. And we also need to support our administrative staff. And one thing I actually wanted to bring up from one of the meetings, Jim, I think, was speaking about fee structures, and health districts and health departments are different. Our fee structures can be very different. And one of the things I wanted to point out, because we had this conversation a while back, Kim, is that our funds in our town, if you're a small town, that goes back to the general fund as well. So it's not just the state agencies, it's also sometimes the town. Health districts are a little different. The other thing is, like, our costs can range substantially. In Guilford, a septic system, say replacement or permit to construct, $100. My friend down in Darien, it's like $500. So, I just wanted to mention that about the whole fee structure as you guys are starting to create recommendations for our group, guys. Health departments aren't all the same. So we may also be dealing with that general fund thing unless something like this could be established in some of the local health departments. Something to be discussed by you guys. This is just information for you guys to have. And definitely a conversation that our very first conversations all seem to go back to funding. We can change the regulations, but if there's no funding to back it up, it's not going to be able to get done. So, Any other questions, guys? Or I can let Kim go. We're good. Thank you very much, Kim. I will see you tomorrow.
Nice meeting you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. So the next topic we're going to talk about, I'm not sure if Audra's here or if she can speak to any kind of clean water funding. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of already did, Audra. Can you speak a little bit about the clean water funding that we talked about?
I can. I have a couple of slides lined up. I was able to find some information from our folks. Give me a moment and I will share screen. All right. Do you guys see a Clean Water Fund slide? Excellent. I see hands. Okay. All right, so many of you know, even if you don't, I'm the director for the Water Permitting and Enforcement Division here at Connecticut Deep. My division does not oversee the Clean Water Fund, but I'm happy to provide some information and give you some resources if we want to look into it some more here. The Federal Clean Water Fund is fundamental to our communities, water quality, and infrastructure. It covers both drinking water and wastewater. The fund provides framework for the Connecticut Clean Water Fund. So that's the state fund. This fund plays a pivotal role in maintaining and enhancing water quality across the state. The Connecticut Clean Water Fund not only supports vital water quality initiatives, but also is a significant infrastructure improvement for all of us. And as we move forward, we just want to keep in mind that it does cover multiple programs. So drinking water is very separate from wastewater. We're not in the same agencies. So the Connecticut Clean Water Fund is a cornerstone of the state's water quality infrastructure program. It's crucial to understand that this fund is more than just a financial resource. It's a pivotal supporter of initiatives aimed at improving water quality and infrastructure across Connecticut. This support is vital for maintaining clean and safe water, which is something we all depend on daily. If we consider the importance of water funding in our infrastructure, without it, many crucial projects would not be possible. From ensuring compliance with environmental regulations to protecting ecosystems, providing clean drinking water, this fund plays an essential role in our community's health and sustainability. The Clean Water Fund was established in 1986, was a pivotal moment in our state's environmental efforts. It's a landmark that replaced the outdated federal construction grants program, if you're familiar with that. The core objective of the Clean Water Fund is to act as a sustainable revolving fund. It finances essential wastewater infrastructure projects throughout Connecticut, ensuring the state is equipped to handle its wastewater needs efficiently and sustainably. One of the fund's key goals is to ensure compliance with the Clean Water Act. We also focus on protecting vital ecosystems such as the Long Island Sound and local watersheds. These natural resources, again, are crucial to both environment, community well-being, and public health. The fund's been in place for many years, going back decades now. While it's not always overflowing with money, it does exist. Starting in the 80s was the beginning of the Clean Water Fund. Moving through the 90s, the focus shifted. And throughout these decades, EPA provides guidance to the states on how they want their money spent. So, in the 90s, we were modernizing our wastewater treatment systems, which was crucial for enhancing water quality. In the 2000s, we brought about initiatives to reduce combined sewer overflows, if you're familiar with those. In 2010s, we embraced our green infrastructure practices, demonstrating commitment to sustainable methods. And in the 2020s here, we're enhancing climate resiliency efforts and ensuring our water systems can withstand environmental changes. Each decade represents a commitment to innovation and progress, reflecting our dedication to protecting water resources and adapting to new challenges. So we'll talk a little bit about the regulatory authority, its history, and how the state and federal government are regulated a bit differently. Clean Water Act is our cornerstone here, established to protect the quality, again, of water. It empowers our state to manage their resources effectively. It's not just about rules, it's about giving states the tools they need for effective water management. EPA capitalization grants are crucial. They provide essential funding that helps states comply with regulations and support local water projects. This funding is the backbone of many state-level initiatives. Accountability and transparency are number one. They are key with this program. The Single Audit Act ensures that there is a rigorous financial audit process for participating states. This means that federal funds are used responsibly and effectively. Together, these elements form a robust federal regulatory framework, ensuring the water resources are protected and managed. So focusing here on Connecticut's regulatory framework, the Clean Water Fund here in Connecticut is regulated under state statutes. So 22A-475 through 485. It forms a backbone for the state regulations. They ensure that our water resources, again, are managed effectively. Moving on to implementation, that's really where my sister bureau comes in. And so they have regulations in 22A, 482, 1 through 4, which provides detailed guidance on how Clean Water Fund operates and how it must be used. Again, this is crucial for maintaining consistency and compliance across various initiatives, not just for wastewater. So the administration of the fund involves two key agencies: Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. We're responsible for policy and project oversight, and the Office of Treasurer handles the financing and loan processing. Each year, there is a priority list that is developed with a group of smarter people than myself. There is a report out to Congress. This has been going back decades. You can see each of those reports on DEEP's website. I believe there's a rating system that's used to come up with the priority list each year, but don't quote me on that. But this is really important for how we allocate the funding, because the fund is not always very large. Sometimes it is very tiny. Understanding the process is key to ensuring we address the most pressing water quality projects. Again, both drinking and wastewater process projects. It helps us to evaluate and decide which projects receive funding first. Prioritizing these projects ensure the resources are allocated efficiently and that we meet specific needs of our communities. This not only supports conservation efforts, but also enhances our overall water infrastructure. So we'll pivot a little bit now and talk about who can access funding, because I think that's really the big one here. So who are our eligible borrowers? Towns and cities and boroughs are our primary borrowers. This ensures communities have the financial means to maintain clean water systems. Next are public water systems, I believe serving 25 or more people. But again, I think it's out of my wheelhouse a little bit because that's water systems and I'm wastewater. So this supports larger networks, provide drinking water to many folks here in the state. And finally, nonprofit, non-community water systems, I believe, are also eligible under the Drinking Water SRF Fund. But again, not my wheelhouse. So who is not eligible, cannot receive these loans? First, private individuals are not eligible for the loans. This exclusion helps to direct the funds towards public services and infrastructure, making sure that we focus on community-wide benefits. Second, for-profit entities are also excluded. This decision is made to prioritize projects that enhance public health and environmental sustainability. Our goal is to support initiatives that serve the greater good. And finally, individual septic repairs are generally not eligible unless they are part of a broader municipality managed project. This ensures that our funding supports comprehensive solutions rather than isolated fixes. These exclusions help us maintain our focus on impactful projects that provide long-term benefits to all of the citizens here in Connecticut. We'll dive a little bit into the categories of projects that we generally are seeing funded. There are three key areas. First, wastewater treatment plant upgrades and modernization. These projects aim to align our facilities with state standards, enhancing both operational efficiency and environmental protection. It's about ensuring our treatment plants are not just functional, but they are operating at their best to serve communities effectively. Next is nutrient removal from point sources. Our focus here is on reducing nitrogen and phosphorus levels. These nutrients, when overly present, can lead to harmful algal blooms that threaten water quality and public health. By mitigating these risks, we actively protecting our water bodies and supporting healthier ecosystems. And then finally, there's combined sewer overflow mitigation. If you're familiar, Connecticut has a couple of CSOs still hanging around here. I believe still in Hartford, Bridgeport, New Haven, I think are the three big ones. During heavy rainfall, combined systems overflow, leading to pollution in water bodies, and strategies we're implementing focus on separation and storage to prevent these overflows, safeguarding, again, environment and public health. Each of these projects plays a crucial role in maintaining the health and resilience of our communities, and we want to ensure that we continue to prioritize these efforts for a sustainable future. The three effective techniques that were commonly used to significantly enhance wastewater management is stuff we're looking at in these projects is infiltration correction. The technique focuses on reducing excess water inflow into sewer systems. By addressing infiltration into our sanitary sewers, we improve the efficiency and effectiveness of wastewater management. And this is crucial, again, for maintaining system integrity and performance. Next, we have decentralized management. This ensures cluster homes and small scale solutions, particularly beneficial for our rural areas. These approaches not only manage wastewater effectively, but also bolster community resilience. It's about bringing solutions closer to where they need it most, fostering self-reliance and sustainability where it's needed. Finally, green infrastructure. Again, we talked about this was one of the newer things that came out in about 2010, one of the initiatives. This approach, it incorporates natural systems for stormwater management. It's a forward-thinking strategy that promotes environmental sustainability, integrated planning, and climate adaptation. By integrating innovative designs, we can create systems that are both functional and harmonious. So what are the general steps for project approval within the Clean Water Fund? I mentioned there are several acts that exist for auditing and oversight for transparency. Projects need to be on the Clean Water Fund priority list. So that's step one. This is a critical initial requirement to ensure the project aligns with overarching water management goals at the state and federal levels. Step two, it's vital to conduct thorough engineering and environmental reviews. These reviews ensure compliance with state and federal standards, safeguarding both our ecosystems and communities. Step three is about demonstrating financial capability. Through audits and financial plans, projects must show that they have the funds to see the project through to completion. This step reassures stakeholders of the project's viability. And then lastly, step four emphasizes the importance of public participation. Public hearings and comment periods allow community members to engage and provide valuable input, fostering transparency and trust. There have been some recent funding updates. As I mentioned, each decade kind of had their own protocols, their own initiatives. As things change, as we become smarter with science and things we need to adapt to. There are funding updates. So the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, this act is pivotal as it provides essential financial resources aimed at bolstering economic recovery through strategic investments in water infrastructure. ARPA funding is transforming water systems nationwide. Then we have the Build America initiative. ARPA funding is a catalyst for community resilience. It's about building a future where our water systems support economic growth and environmental health. Additionally, federal support now extends to tackling emerging contaminants in our water sources. I'm going to say the P word you guys are all generally familiar with, PFAS. It's not just PFAS, it is other emerging contaminants, but that is definitely the one at the top of everyone's list these days. This focus ensures the development of innovative solutions that safeguard our drinking water, promoting overall environmental well-being. We'll dive a little bit now into EPA permit their funds specifically for stormwater management on non-point sources. So again, I mentioned there's federal and there's state, right? The federal government gives Connecticut its money. However, our Connecticut state statutes and regulations dictate how we spend that money. So at the federal level, it is authorized to use that money for stormwater non-point source discharges. At the state level, it is not, and that is in statute. I think that's all I got for you guys. So we have a website, and I will get it up to folks. It's, if you Google CT Deep, Clean Water Fund, all the information, reports to Congress, priority lists for each year, the background and information is all provided on the website.
Thank you, Audra. That was very informative. I appreciate it. I can speak from my experience on the shoreline here. Usually if the money went through, it would go through the WPCA, the Water Pollution Control Authority of the towns, which kind of talks back to one of your first slides about the municipalities getting it. The other thing is decentralized management programs. I believe there's only one in the state of Connecticut, which is Old Saybrook. Maybe part of this could be an easier path on how to establish them. One of the reasons why I keep on talking about this is because when you have a wastewater facility plan, because we have to have them per consent orders, that is something that we can access to help create it or update it. Yeah. And so we are familiar with the Clean Water Funding Priority List. My question would be with the ARPA funding. How is that all figured in? Is that I kind of missed that part.
So I am not the right person to answer that. I think all that money is spent though, because it's been a couple of years. I think it's been drained dry at this point. But I can get you some more information on that if you're interested.
Thank you.
How that went down. Yep.
Does anyone have any questions? Oh, Jim, go ahead.
Hi, Audra, thanks for that presentation. I have a couple of questions. So the funding for your program comes from the SRF fund. Is that right?
Yeah, so SRF funds some of it. The 106G grant is where primarily money goes to the state, right? And then the state allocates that through. Money goes to general fund world, money goes to higher levels, and then it is allocated down to agencies and programs.
Okay. The only reason I was asking that because that's been one of my big pushes that SRF funds should be spent more on on-site, with 40% of our taxpayers here in Connecticut are on septic.
Right.
And currently the SRF fund is facilitating 4% to on-site wastewater projects.
Yeah, and I think for that change to happen, I think there's a statute and regulatory change, right? That would probably be in the mix. So, speed bumps in the road, depending if that was the way to go.
The other thought I had on that would be that money can be used for education, though. Is that right?
I am not aware of that because I don't have a budget for education. So if you know something, I want to know.
I don't know. I was under the impression, though, it could. So I wonder if that's the answer that we request, that a percentage of the SRF be attributed to on-site education. Last year it was $40.5 million that went to the state of Connecticut. So 2% would be beyond our wildest dreams.
Excellent point, Jim. Bob?
Actually, Jim and I are on the exact same page. I was going to ask kind of the same thing, was just this money that's coming in, is it everything coming from the feds to the state and it funnels through the state and back to its various uses? Or is there state money and federal money? I just want to make sure I was understanding.
Yeah, so
that.
it is mixed. That's a good point here. So there's a match that happens. Every state has a little bit of a different percentage, but my general rule of thumb, it's probably like a 75-25 match. So I have staff that are fully funded by SRF and some that are not at all. They're funded right out of the general fund. And so the math definitely gets complicated, but it funds more than just our programs here in the Clean Water Act, right? It also funds drinking water. And so you think about all the resources and things that it is spread thin. It is spread thin.
Can you give us an idea, like how many dollars we're talking about? You said it's very limited, but obviously, doing a sewer treatment plant, one plant is a lot of money. So I'm just curious,
It is
like
a
how
lot
many
of money,
dollars we're
yeah.
talking
And
about?
so, it's not free money, right? So a municipality has to put up some money as well, right? They have to put up money, and some of it's really just a loan program. It's not a grant. So it is paid back. It's generally at a lower interest rate though, right? And that's what really makes it appealing. But there are a lot of municipalities that still can't get to the match because it is so high.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thanks for clarifying that, because I heard you say something about a revolving fund, and so I wasn't sure if we're talking about grants or
Yeah.
or just low interest loans or something. So that's helpful. It does seem to me, just as Jim said, that wastewater infrastructure improvements and water quality improvements could all go hand in hand. I can understand why you're not going to help pay for somebody's personal septic system, private septic system, but the training, the education, the evaluation of AT systems, all those kinds of things that we're talking about would seem like legitimate uses for this money, especially as Jim said, 40% of our wastewater is going through a septic system, not through a sewer treatment plant. It seems like a no-brainer to me. If it's state statutes that are in the way, I think that should certainly be something we need to evaluate, and maybe one of our recommendations is to change the statute if that's necessary to allow this funding to be used for this purpose. I think that would be a logical recommendation coming out of this process we're going through. So
Yeah, and I
thank you.
think something that Sonia mentioned early on was that a lot of people are very interested in the work that's being done here today by the committee. A lot of people are starting to catch wind and get interested in it. And so when we start talking about opening state statutes and regs for money that is, for lack of better words, earmarked for municipalities, I would highly recommend having a discussion with municipalities about that before putting forth that recommendation. Because it'll take the money right out of their pocketbook, which goes to the community as well. So it's just another stakeholder in the group to consider as we're going through this process.
Excellent. I just wanted to mention, because I have been working on some of these WPCs on the shoreline, and we're members of COPCA, which is like the big sewer group stuff. And I would have to say that group is extremely supportive of training, of education when I was there.
Yeah.
2017 when I was a member there. It's not like you can't have it. What we would ask for is like what 1 to 2%, and there is a need. I mean, these are sewage folks too. I think everyone kind of recognizes the need. That 30 to 40% is on septic systems, and we should have some more education. And the whole point of kind of this joint meeting in general was to have, all right, now we gave you 2 areas that we need to focus funding on. Otherwise, we really can't progress even to put something in a recommendation that's going to be covered. So that was kind of the intent. Clean water funding, ARPA, probably not there anymore, would be a great thing, not for personal septic systems, right? But possibly for training in state agencies, right? To beef up your numbers, to help us, assist us in local health. And on the other part with the building, it would be helpful to look at a sustainable pocket of money that ebbs and flow with actual building, which puts the actual pressure on our department. I just want to state that. I also want to open this up for any other questions that anyone may have. Any comments? Okay. The next thing was to talk about, we really don't have to talk about, we talked about 3 funding sources, and I know this one's like so bottom of the list, but I do just want to open it up real quickly. So when you have an increase in this amount of septic system repairs, new development, just like with sewers, you are going to have systems that fail. And we don't talk about it. We don't have a central repository of the state to talk about it. That is probably, in my opinion, working on the shoreline septic systems is one of the biggest strains on our offices. When we have a failure, it takes a lot, right? It's also sewage on the ground. There's a lot of moving parts to that. And when we're talking about larger flows of systems, like a community system, certain towns have accounts set up. Guilford would be one of them. We have an ordinance, and when it's a community system, we do have money that's provided by the developer that's put into escrow, more of an escrow account that should be built on. Our program it needs to be reevaluated. Our ordinance needs to be reevaluated. But when I was in Westbrook, I looked at Guilford because Guilford's the only one that really has an ordinance that talks about this. Even our ordinance is the greatest, and we need to perfect it. And I just think that we do need to be mindful of we're increasing development, conversions, building additions, septic systems, ADUs. There will be more of an increase in potential failures. They do happen, and it's just something that happens, guys. It's like a sewer pipe bust, water pipe bust. It happens, and it would just be very helpful if there was something there of a cushion for some of the towns. But yes, that would be a discussion to have with the towns. So I just wanted to bring out that last funding. I don't want the funding group to even worry about that one. It was just, we need to talk and have it stated, but obviously not one of our priorities since we have a limited time. Yes, Audra?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add on to that, right? It's not just failing systems, it's the resource allocation. So when a system fails, right, that resource allocation is now no longer working on the building side of the house to get those systems put in where you need them. They're now focused on the public health side of the fence. And so that's very similar here at Deep as well. We prioritize failing systems, upgrades, and so there is a resource challenge to that, right? It's not like we have a team that's dedicated just to new construction versus repairs. It's the same 2 people doing it across the state here. So, that is definitely one of the challenges. That's why we keep bringing it up. It's not that every system fails. It's just that it changes our priorities, and then we have to pivot, which means we can't support the new construction coming in because we have a public health emergency.
Exactly. Thank you, Audra. Does anyone have any other comments on that? No? Okay. Additional business. Audra, I'm going to call back on you again. From what I understand, there's a meeting tomorrow. Can you speak a little bit about a presentation?
Yeah, sure. So tomorrow, we have invited you all to come join us and my team, who is getting some training by her name is escaping me. I think it's Janet Barclay. She is scientist at USGS. She recently published a study based on water quality modeling that she was involved with, along with some other scientists at USGS. The publication is called Simulated Mean Monthly Groundwater Transported Nitrogen Loads in Watersheds on the North Shore of the Long Island Sound from 1993 to 2020, which is a long time to be looking at water quality data, which is what we really want to see when we're thinking about big changes and what that looks like. Her area of study is groundwater here, specifically in New England, with a hydrogeology focus, primarily with Connecticut and New England, or with the Long Island Sound. So she's very familiar with Rhode Island and Massachusetts. She may have some other colleagues join her as well in case there are some other questions that come up from the various groups. I know my team is excited to hear from her as well. So it's via Zoom. If you haven't gotten the invite, let us know, and I'm sure that can get back out to everybody. So we hope you guys can join us tomorrow at 2.
Audra, so I was just curious, is it, so a couple health directors on the shoreline, because we are dealing with the nitrogens and the groundwater issues, may be interested. Is it open to anybody else or just these, and that's fine, the subgroups. Is it gonna be recorded?
Yeah, so, and that's a good point. Yep. So we are going to record it because we use these for training opportunities for new staff, and then for folks who are just in the field couldn't make it. They're welcome to join, as many as Zoom can handle. I don't know what the cap is, but that's something that I think is great for everybody if we get that, again, training, right? This is how we're doing some of those things internally with no budget. So we're grateful for USGS. So feel free, share it along.
Thank you, Audra. Do we have any other comments, questions, any new business that wants to be brought up? No? Okay, I will be in touch with the subcommittee of Regs and Legal about trying to set up another meeting. Yes, we are coming down to the wire. I think we need to discuss the recommendations that we actually want to write up for the regulations and where they need to be. We started working a little bit on that, and I will be in communication with some documentation for you guys to look at before we meet again. And I know that we have another meeting on the 10th. I don't know how long the whole meeting will need to be. And if that is the case, maybe we can ask for some extra time because we did schedule it for 1.5 hours. If it ends earlier, maybe we can get that time, but I will communicate with Jim, John, and Peter on if that's possible for the 10th. And again, I will send out information for another meeting if that doesn't work out, and some information on how we need to press our next challenge of writing up those recommendations on the regulations. Anybody have anything else they want to add? Okay. This meeting, I'll just call this meeting to an adjournment.
Thanks, Sonia. Good job.
Thank you, John. Have a nice day, everyone.